Piece Volume 50. This is one of my
One?
favorite volumes that we've covered so far.
Yeah, this is the conclusion to Thriller Bark, and like the end of the last volume when Gekkomoria transforms with like what's it called? Like
Shadows
Asgard.
Asgard.
yeah, that shit was so cool, and it's one of those moments where it took like everything our Straw Hats had to like put down oars, and then it's like, oh shit. Now Gekkomoria has 1,000 shadows, because like we saw how strong Luffy was with only 100. So I was really excited to see how this fight ends up. And the first chapter of this volume, 482, it's just one of those chapters that's just kind of straight action all the way through.
Yeah, it starts
And this
pretty
one's
early.
really cool.
Yeah.
I don't know, like Luffy does iconic gear second pose, and then him and Moria just kind of go at it.
He actually fuses Gear 3rd and Gear 2nd, which Chopper's like, don't do it, you'll destroy yourself.
And Luffy says, I must go all out just this once.
Just this once. I like in the beginning of the chapter, Zoro says they've already won. Which I think we were mentioning, like, by Moria doing such a drastic attack, like, he really has kind of thrown so much of his work. If he loses here, it's such a desperation.
Yeah, it's like the act of using the attack he did, Shadows Asgard. Just by using that attack, he destroyed his empire that he built up over all these years. So they're like, yeah, like we won.
Yeah.
But I don't have a ton to say about this chapter. It's just good action.
Yeah, it's just the fight just ultimately finishes this chapter too. It's kind of strange. Like you start, like, you get to this final segment of this fight, and it just also ended in the same chapter.
Yeah,
I feel.
Oda's been pretty fast paced with this arc. I think the pacing's been, because like I'm glad this one went fast, because it was just a show of Moria's like death throw, you know, like him just like flinging around. But we've been in such a long fight with Moria that it makes sense that we wouldn't want to drag something like this out.
Yeah, it's like at this point in the fight, it's like, you know, we get it.
Yeah.
Show us the punches.
Oh no! Alright. So now the 483.
Yeah, and it's really scary to read the chapter title, The End of the Dream, and then on the first page you see our Straw Hats' bodies half erased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad
One Piece is here.
I'm glad shadow mechanics are weird as shit, because
But,
you have to be fully dead to be dead. Can't be half dead.
But I guess the dream that's ending is the nightmare that was Thriller Bark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe Moria's dream has ended. Or Hawkeye's
Yeah, you know
dream.
what? Because in One Piece, everybody's got a dream, but not everybody can get what they want.
It's true.
Unfortunately, the nightmare truly begins now with Kuma showing up.
Yeah, so this is crazy. We've had like half a chapter of downtime from defeating one of the 7 warlords, and then Nami's like, fuck you guys.
I forgot
Kuma's here. And like he just kind of gets right into it. He's on his transponder snail, and they're like, yeah, annihilate them. And I'm like, the Straw Hats are reeling this hard from fighting Moria and his army for the past, like, I don't know, 1 or 2 hours straight.
Yeah.
And then it's like they barely survived, and then another warlord is like, oh, okay, time to kill all of you. And I'm like, what the fuck are they gonna do?
We get introduced to his fruit here too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and dude, his fruit is fucking sick.
Riley was really excited about this fruit. He thought it was really cool.
It's actually the fruit I would want the most out of all the One Piece fruits. I think it's broken. I think it has real life applications. The only downside is my hands would be little paws. But
you know, that could be really cute. Some girls might like that.
I could just wear a glove. It's cool.
Yeah.
So we're about to get into that fight, but I don't know. Do you guys have anything else for 43? Because I got to talk about the chapter cover art for 44.
No. Just go for it.
No.
Oh, is that Vivi? Who is this?
That's Vivi.
Okay, I wasn't entirely sure.
Uh-oh. I was just having a heated conversation with Joe about how people don't pay attention to, like, the small details of One Piece character designs and then get all the females confused.
It's like One Piece normally does have very iconic character designs. Like, you'll never fucking forget Kuma or Mori, or like you'll never fucking forget like Frankie Morgan.
If they're a boy, they're indistinguishable.
Yeah, but I mean, Vivi's, she's sitting there.
There's some small things.
It's the length of her hair and the two long strands. That's how you're able to...
It's probably easier in the anime because she has like blue hair or some shit.
Yeah. There's a colored page that comes up I think relatively soon, in the next like 2 or 3 volumes after the 2 you've read, that has all the major like females on it. I remember seeing this for the first time, being like, everyone looks the goddamn same here if you take off like 1 or 2 things.
Well, that's why you gotta pay extra attention to those 1 or 2 things.
But y'all, so we go into 44 called Squish, and so Luffy's out, like he's fucking out cold, and we're like, who the fuck's gonna fight Kuma? Because Luffy's really the only person who takes on the warlords head to head at this point.
Yeah.
So you know what? First mate Zoro got to step up to the plate.
I really like this page. Oh, I should be screen sharing. Hold on. I really like this page where the Straw Hats are kind of blushing at Kuma calling them a competent crew.
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing, except for Robin, who's just like, of course we are. Why would I feel different about that?
Yeah.
I guess that's how you can interpret that.
Yeah, they're all doing the chopper where they blush when they get complimented.
We're not cool, idiot.
Aw.
But yeah, like Zoro tries to defend his friends from Kuma, and Kuma is just kind of fucking insane, dude.
Yeah, he never had a chance. Zoro, at least.
This panel where he's deflecting the sword, like slash or blast, or whatever you want to call it, is fucking nuts, and I think speaks volume to what his like power does in terms of conceptualism.
I mean, this is like the basic application. What's nuts is
right,
comes
but like,
after.
But but like as a first, like kind of like as you're seeing this for the first time, you're like, oh, he can just redirect things, no problem.
Yeah. And the implication, it's like the strongest attack in One Piece, I feel like Kuma could deflect it, because that is his skill set.
Because that's the thing. Whenever I saw that panel of him deflecting the sword slash, I was like, I don't know if Zoro's going to be able to beat him, because, for most types of opponents, there's an amount of hit stuff harder that will allow you to beat them, like, Zoro being able to eventually cut metal. But with Kuma, like, his power is that he repels things. Like, no matter how hard you hit it, like he repels it. The
only way you could feasibly beat him is if you outspeed him and he doesn't have time to bring up his hand to deflect it. However, he can use his hand deflection to also teleport his body around. Pretty much, he can just propel himself. So it's not like he's slow either. So that's a tough fight.
And I don't know. It's just so many cool applications for this, where it's just like, oh, I just fucking repel air and shoot you with
air cannons
that fucking destroy you.
Killer Queen ass.
It's really cool that something called the paw fruit is so intimidating.
Right, it's a really great one. Ooh, Zoro's using streaming wolf swords here, which he hasn't pulled out in a hot minute.
Yeah, these attacks are fucking sick. And like, Zoro just, again, goes at him here and he slashes with all 3 of his swords, and it does nothing. Like, he just sends Zoro flying back.
The only chance they would ever have had of doing this without Luffy is if the whole crew was healthy and fighting, and that might be even pushing it. Because, speaking of cutting metal, there's another layer to how strong Kuma is, and that he's a fucking cyborg.
Yeah, that was fucking insane. And like, he starts charging up his fucking bomb, which is cool.
Oh,
like
Usha's blast is like the coolest attack.
Yeah, this page and a half where he detonates it, I'm like, oh my god! And I like that the air bubble is shaped like a paw.
Yeah.
And I got really scared until I remembered, like, oh, nobody died here. But
I don't know. There was a rando who might have died in the crowd somewhere.
There's probably a fly on a tree that had its wings blown off or something.
But I promise you, he had a really good backstory, dude. It was.
Yeah.
Just got around to it.
And then I don't know. I was really psyched up by the chapter of the next title, Straw Hat Pirates, Pirate Hunter Zolo. Zolo. I'm just giving up Zolo. Whenever you read that, you're just like, this is gonna be my boy's chapter.
That's so cool too, because like, it's just Oda doing such a good job of like cycling in when a Straw Hat gets a really big moment to shine. Now we get Zoro's always been like the most consistent character, but like we're also now getting a very Zoro heavy chapter. But also Sanji's gonna be getting a lot from this encounter too, which I think is great.
Yeah, it's lovely. And man, opening up this chapter and seeing the rubble everywhere is terrifying, because it's like anything that wasn't already destroyed in the fight, like for example the tower knocked over, like anything that wasn't already destroyed is fucking wrecked here. Like there's trees flattened, all the other buildings are just like reduced to rubble.
I like how we have this outside shot, or this like pulled away shot that shows the mast and everything coming down from Thriller Bark. So it's very much like this ship is inoperable now. It's gonna stay where it is.
Yeah, like even the ocean itself, like is still in the ocean.
Holy shit, the mast is falling. I never noticed that. What the fuck? They fucked this place up, dude. This has been a long night for the Moria pirates.
And then you turn the page again, we saw the rubble of the island, and now you see like everybody just taken out of commission. And Kuma's standing there so calm because it was so easy for him to do this.
No sweat.
Like, a fight, like a really big punch from Luffy, he can eventually get tired. It'll take him out. It'll take it out of him. But Kuma can just devastate an island like this, and it's nothing for him.
We can also get an impression of what he did to Perona now that we know his fruit. Because Perona just disappeared. So, what actually happened is Kuma just fucking yeeted her out of the island.
God.
Which, come on, that's also such a good reason to have this fruit. If he wants to...
Could you imagine Miller just walking up to somebody and be like, I'm done with you. It's just sending them home.
I would be like, where do you want to go on a vacation?
Man, it would have been great if in the Inaru cover story, she just like landed on the moon.
Oh, Bradley.
Just like yeeted her up there.
We haven't gotten the cover story part 2s yet.
You're right, you're right.
But Zoro's
not done, y'all. This is he's first mate, alright? He's tougher than that. But then we get to where Kuma's also a cyborg, and I was like, it wasn't enough.
You had no chance ever, like, because they make a point that he's tougher than Frankie. So a metal stronger than even Frankie's, and like he clearly looks more advanced. And I mean, if he didn't even look more advanced, he's shooting goddamn beams. So he's on another level of Frankie.
Yeah, because like, Frankie's a very good craftsman, but when he turned himself into a cyborg, it was kind of to save his life with what he had available. And then I'm sure he, upgraded himself later.
Yeah.
But this is like the best scientist in the world created these cyborgs.
Right? Yeah, I think he might talk about who made... Yeah, there he is. The ever-present, never-seen Dr. Vegapunk.
Yeah, because I remember reading that, and I had to kind of get confirmation from Willer. I remember he was at least mentioned when they talked about... I think it was Vegapunk who figured out a way to feed devil fruits to inanimate objects.
Yeah.
Like Funkfried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's been mentioned one or more odd times. He
was mentioned in Alabasta.
Yeah.
With with Mr. Four's
right.
Merry Christmas
right.
gun. Yeah.
I think he's also been mentioned in SBS's, but we also get the name drop of a pacifista, which is important, and he's a human weapon, but not yet complete.
Notably, it is as if he's just one of them.
Right, there could be more.
Which is really scary to think about. And, man, we see Zoro here. After learning about this other element of Kuma, I think he's kind of realized this isn't exactly winnable right now. So, he offers, hey, take my head. I'm not as famous as Luffy, but I promise one day, I would have been the world's best swordsman. So, I mean, you can say you did something here. And this is amazing because, Zoro has his dream to be the world's greatest swordsman. And I can't remember if it was one of you two who showed it to me. Back whenever he, first made that promise and that dream to himself and joined Luffy's crew even.
Right.
I think he was like, I'm on your crew, but I'm not going to let anything get in the way of my dream.
And then there's also the one where Sanji's like, just let your dream go. Why are you taking this so far? And here Sanji's also stepping up to the plate and sacrificing himself as well. There's just such subtle things. Really easy to forget those kinds of moments.
Yeah, it shows how he's grown. Because, in Water 7, I think we kind of realize just how deep his respect for Luffy as a captain goes. Because he's like, you know what? Luffy's the captain. What he says goes. Yeah. And this is like a more final representation of that. Zoro's willing to give everything for Luffy because he recognizes, you know what? I'm going to be the world's greatest swordsman, but Luffy is going to be king of the pirates.
That's whenever Straw Hats say Luffy will, and it's always I think every Straw Hat will get this moment, so we should keep an eye out for it. But Straw Hats say Luffy will become the king of the pirate. That just shows after sailing with him, they're just like, this is the guy, dude. I've seen what he's pulled out of his ass. I've seen him save nations and go through ghost islands and kill gods. He's the guy.
And Sanji is like this too. Yeah. He would also offer himself, and Zoro isn't gonna let any of his comrades fall like this. But what's important is that Sanji would have done this, and I honestly think any member of the Straw Hats would have at this point.
Yeah, possibly.
Hard
to
I don't know.
Because these guys are so tough.
Zoro stops him. Yeah. Zoro wants to make this sacrifice, but we respect you, Sanji.
In the topic of people saying Luffy will become king of the pirate, I think the only other so far has been Usopp, right, Joe? I believe Usopp says it in Alabasta when he's fighting Mr. Four and Miss Merry Christmas.
I think so.
They're making fun of Luffy's dream to become king of the pirates. He's like, shut the fuck up. I might have broken every bone in my body, but I'm not gonna let you do that.
Yeah.
And I really like Kuma here because Oda has to come up with a way, right, for Kuma to not just finish everybody off here. But, obviously all of the 7 warlords have nuance to them. They all have very different personalities, and Kuma works for the world government, and, he doesn't... Obviously, he's very committed to serving the world government.
Yeah.
But there's honor to this guy, and when he sees what Zoro has offered right here, he can respect that as a man, and he's like, you know what? After you putting yourself up like that, if I just shot you down, there's no honor in that. That would be a terrible thing to do. So, he kind of hears Zoro out, and he's like, I'll spare your friends, but you're gonna have to take on the pain of your captain if you care about him that much,
There's a couple of other reasons to why Kuma could be holding back, and I think I can even bring some of them up once we get later into this volume. But Kuma is very interesting because we mentioned last time that he actually seems to be the most government dog out of every warlord we've seen. But even here, he's rule breaking a little bit when it comes to this show of trust that Zoro's giving Luffy.
Yeah, and here we get to see this demonstration that when he says the pawpaw fruit can repel anything, he means anything.
So good.
He basically extracts all of this pain and exhaustion and anguish that Luffy went through over the course of this fight and unloads it onto Zoro. And dude, like, this hits really hard because we're not even halfway through this volume, and well into the next volume, Zoro is still kind of reeling from this.
Yeah, I feel like Zoro is the most common Straw Hat to take insane levels of damage to where it carries a couple of arcs. Because I can also remember in Drum Island and in Arlong Park, Zoro was kind of suffering from previous battle wounds.
He's the only Straw Hat that, like, so far that has retained, like, a wound or a scar, because he has the scar from Mihawk when he dueled him.
Right, yeah, that's a big part of his character design, his big old chest scar. Man, also I want to bring up that this is the same strategy Luffy used to save the crew when fighting Aokiji, where it's this desperate attempt to appeal to the other characters' sense of honor by making it a mano affair. So
yeah, and that was the coolest.
Yeah, and this is also maybe the coolest.
And you know, if this chapter wasn't enough, we also get Kuma saying, like, you know, he's your son after all, Dragon.
This is what I was referring to, where whatever Kuma's relationship with Dragon, maybe that's why he's going easier on the Straw Hats than he's ordered to.
Yeah, because if you remember from Garp's conversation in the previous arc, it's highly classified who Dragon is related to. Like, it's kept a big secret.
Right, yeah.
So it's kind of strange that Kuma knows that Luffy is related to Dragon in some way.
Either he's like the forefront, like, researcher into Dragon, like someone who's constantly on his tail, or he might know Dragon from the past.
Yeah, like and I think it's kind of been established that Dragon is one of the world government's most prioritized enemies.
Yeah, dude.
I believe he is the prioritized enemy.
I believe they call him the most wanted man, right?
Yeah, and so against someone like that, you kind of want to keep every avenue possible for getting an edge on him. And, you know, they might not know the full extent of Luffy's relationship to his father, but if they know that, you know, Luffy is Dragon's son, they might want to keep that, you know, they might want to keep possibilities open because, you know, maybe there's some leverage to be gained there. I don't know.
And also imagine, like, you have this guy that's going around liberating, like, countries from evildoers and pirates and all this other stuff, and he happens to be the son of the guy that's causing a revolution. Like, that's kind of a big, like, political, like, problem, you know?
I think Bradley's gotten to the point of One Piece where he realizes, because it's kind of next volume stuff, but politics is more important than justice, unfortunately, in the world of One Piece. So if you're someone who's opposing the world government in such a direct way as Dragon, then you gotta go.
Yeah. So, like, you know, aside from this honor thing with Zoro, they might be leaving Luffy open as a possibility to find a way to deal with the Dragon. Either they could direct Luffy towards him, or maybe, you know, for some reason Dragon might respond if Luffy's in danger. I have no idea, but I don't know. We'll find out eventually, maybe.
But in the meantime, nothing happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, Luffy gets up and he feels great.
Yeah, and then we just move on from there.
Yeah, and nothing happened.
Zoro, he doesn't, you know, want to. You know, he doesn't want to be the star. He doesn't want to tell everybody what happened here.
Zoro's great. This moment is often translated as nothing happened, so it's known as the nothing happened moment instead of Zoro saying nothing at all. It's a contender for top 5 One Piece moments for me. It's so good. And the anime also does it really well, which is a extra fun thing to go check out. But there's just blood everywhere, and Zoro just had the most painful night. And if you ever needed like such a show of loyalty and what kind of man Zoro is, it's doing this and then begging that he doesn't take credit for it. That's so good.
So this next chapter, people kind of start rounding up on Thriller Park. We get to see the henchmen of Gekkomoria kind of sitting there like, what the hell do we do now? And I don't know, throughout the scene, I was just like, they have to get a chapter cover story. Because it's like,
there's still a crew at the end, even though one of their friends has been yeeted to somewhere.
Yeah. So I'm sure we're going to find out what happens to them. But even more important, they get news that the commander of the 2nd Division of the Whitebeard Pirates, Fire Fist Ace, is currently awaiting execution in the Great Prison of Impel Down.
There it is.
We planted a seed with the Blackbeard fight, and this is like the first beginning of a sprout of that seed.
Yeah, Kuma's been talking about Ace, and we mentioned it the last few talks, but it wasn't ever clear if Ace lost, so we were just theorizing on it. But here it has become clear that not only was Ace lost, he was turned in, and I believe Kuma was saying about
last volume.
I'll wait, actually, on bringing up anything else that Kuma was talking about. But there's more foreshadowing to what exactly unfolded on that island if you really pay attention to what Kuma was saying and what other characters will say in these upcoming volumes, which is cool.
Yeah. So that's some very notable stuff. A lot of this chapter is kind of tying up our threads. Nami gets to meet, Lola.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, hey, fuck happened to Zoro when we were all knocked out yesterday? Yeah, it's just kind of us tying up Thriller Bark in a neat little bow.
I like that
you first.
Or like Sanji and Robin, they show off their like intel gathering skills a little bit more. Where like Sanji's able to convince the Risky brothers to tell him what happened because they saw what happened, and Robin just uses her ears to like listen on the conversation.
So at the end of the day, Robin, Sanji, and Brooke are the only people who know about what Zoro did that night, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and man, I really like Robin using her ear here. It's just a really cool use of her devil fruit.
Yeah. And I mean, she's been doing sketchy stuff since she was 8, so. I like Brooke bringing back his dinner, which is like when he was yelling early in the arc when he first met the Straw Hats. It's so cute.
Yeah, and we're about to begin like the saddest shit ever because Brooke starts playing piano for the Straw Hats and talking to Luffy about Laboon, and we begin Brooke's flashback, and it is like the saddest shit in One Piece. I was actually really tearing up when I was reading it.
The flashback for real, because when Bradley said that he got to the Laboon flashback, it was before I was reading ahead of him again, and I was like, oh god, they did that so early in the arc, but he was only given like the fake out like early flashback without the juicy stuff, which is
I think it's interesting because I think this might be the first like flashback that we get at the end of an arc. That finishes off an arc rather than like that happens in the middle or happens right before a big fight.
That's right. Well,
yeah, I feel like often we get our flashbacks like right before the final fight, so that way it's like that much more impactful.
Usopp's was also at the end, right? Because I remember Bradley being like, Usopp's a punk bitch, and then he got to the flashback. He's like, all right, he's only slightly less of a punk.
I was like, all right.
That was great.
Now he's still a punk bitch. Man, Brooke crying. First of all, how do he cry? But him crying about like really finding out that Laboon's alive is just fantastic. But then we get into the actual flashback, which is just maybe my favorite Straw Hat flashback of them all, which is saying something.
this is probably my favorite one so far. And I was kind of talking to you guys about it, where like this was the saddest one to me, and it's strange because like I think Robin's is ultimately more tragic.
Yeah.
I think I described hers as like biblical levels of tragedy.
Hers and Chopper's and Nami are like more traditionally, because it's happening to children. But I still like Brooks the best.
Like Brooks is just like a very, very personal tragedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I want to talk about more when we exit the flashback.
I really like Brooks' human design.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's just like the fact that he's so tall and skinny kind of keeps him, looking very skeletal, but I especially like his glasses because his glasses kind of just subtly make his face look more like a skull.
Yeah, I don't think we ever get to see his real eyes, which is fun.
Yeah, so I quite like this character design, and we get to see where the saga of Brooke and Laboon started.
It all started with the Rumbar Pirates, a crew of pirates in the West Blue, who, after a big fight, they run into a cute whale that keeps following them, and even after big fights, the whale is there, and they just start making a bond with this whale.
Yeah, and time passes very quickly between these pages, but you can like really see how much they've journeyed together still.
Yeah, and I love how they take this little lift here to talk to Laboon by like getting really close to the water. I think there's some really cool moments in this flashback, like the captain mentioning, "Hey Brooke, you have a devil fruit." Or it's when they're all meeting their downfall, like they know Brooke has a devil fruit. So these guys are really adventured and they have a really good bond, and there's a lot of them that you recognize from panel to panel, but they seem to be a pretty big crew.
Yeah. We eventually see the moment we've come to know where, Laboon gets left.
Yeah, at the red line.
And then it's really sad because immediately after they have to leave him behind, we turn the page and we see the ghost ship. It's completely in ruin.
What a transition. I just want to point out we see young Crocus here, which is nice. It means he's been there all those years. I don't know if he said that back then, but there's confirmation.
Also for over 50 years, so that boy is old.
Yeah. But also, didn't we learn that he was part of Roger's crew?
Crocus?
Yes. Yeah, we did.
So that must mean that, like, they picked him up. He was like, "Yo, Crocus, let's go fuck the world up."
Yeah.
Because you're, like, the best doctor, which is really cool.
Did we learn that in this?
No, we learned it all the way back at the lighthouse.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, in Reverse Mountain.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also very sad to see, Brooke having to store all of his crewmates' remains in these coffins.
So that imagery is like, it's such a mind fuck to me to really think about. Imagine you have to live in the car that me, Willer, and Tyler all died in, and you can't leave it.
Oh no! This part where he's picking up he's like, "Yo, your quick draw's so cool. Can you teach me?" And he's just looking at the guy's skull. And the best part is, so they must have had some coffins on board because they were like, "We might need some of these as we're sailing these seas." But there's not enough of them they didn't expect everyone to die. So, like, he has to put multiple skulls in each coffin. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's really sad because he walks throughout the ship, like the dining hall and hallways and on the deck. And as he passes through each area, he just, like, sees memories in his head of stuff that happened there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like this use of, like, the mirror to show that this is after he lost his shadow, that he's doing all this. So we got to get back to how this all happened.
Is this after or before? Wouldn't this be before he lost his shadow that he was doing all this?
No, because he has no reflection. Or no.
Right, but
sorry, no. He does have a reflection. So this would be before.
Yeah.
But it is after the downfall of the crew, which we get back to as the flashback keeps going.
Yeah.
And it's really nice because, throughout the chapter, they've been mentioning that song over and over, which is what the chapter's titled. It's titled That Song. And here we see the captain. He's sick. It doesn't look like he's going to make it, but he knows his crew has to go on without him. and he wants to be sent out to that song. Binks' Brew.
Yeah.
Is the one that
man.
Brooke was singing it all by himself out in the ocean whenever we first met him.
Yeah, man.
When he
also
didn't know anyone was watching.
He was also humming it before he like took down the big spider monkey. I believe he makes Brooke the captain right afterwards. Like after he dies.
Brooke becomes the captain internum after they leave Yorkie at the village.
So Brooke was a pirate. I think he's the only Straw Hat to have been a pirate captain, and really a pirate, or really even
Usopp.
No, Usopp's bitch crew doesn't count. They never sailed. It's really heartbreaking, this captain's disease.
Yeah. Because, like, he knows if he stays there, he's putting his crew at risk. So he's like, you guys are going to have to leave us.
Yeah, that's tough.
I mean, Captain Yorkie understanding social distancing and wearing a mask and quarantining yourself.
If only everyone was as smart as One Piece characters. I didn't mention, but I love last cover art of Polly getting a new of Iceberg getting a new secretary.
Yeah.
So seems like we're circling back to the Water 7 crew, which will eventually lead into a cover story of its own.
And then, we get a little bit of time passing in this flashback, and Brooke's been all alone for at least 10 years at this point, and the loneliness has to drive him insane. He'll do anything to entertain himself. He'll roll around, pose, do his 45-degree angle against the wall.
So the thing about the 45 degree is that in Japanese, because I looked this up, 45 degrees sounds like after death in Japanese.
Nice.
Ooh. So it's a joke.
But also, he's so bony that visually it works well. One thing I wrote down that I didn't mention previous chapter. Captain Yorkie got sick from a virus he got in a jungle. That was definitely Little Garden. He got sick with the same virus that Nami got, except that they didn't get to a doctor because this was 50 years ago. So that would line up quite well.
That is an interesting note. Actually, yeah, because it does make sense they would have passed through Little Garden because, I mean, they had to have probably taken the same route the Straw Hats did, right?
Yeah.
Well, you get to choose like one of 5, but yeah.
And I don't know if any of the routes have any overlapping islands or anything like that, but either way, it seems like they landed into either Little Garden or a Little Garden-like island, and it is pretty parallel, but I don't think, maybe someone's asked it in SBS, and Oda has clarified, but I think, the part that makes this flashback so good is just the fact that Brooke had to be alone for 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
That's I love how it's interlaced. So you're kind of experiencing flashbacks within Brooke's like mindset. So so the flashback is really witnessing Brooke as he is on that ship, like dealing with his lonesomeness. But we're getting flashes back to like when he was a pirate and all that kind of cool stuff. So you get this sense of loneliness with him as you get the feeling of this loneliness and empathy as you're seeing these events happen. Like this scene where he's sleeping and then he has a hallucination about the entire crew still being there and they're running around. He's like, "Oh my god, you're still alive!" And then he realizes it's not there. It's just like heartbreaking.
The best part of like the jumping back and forth is that time loses meaning as you're going through this flashback, which makes you feel like Brooke felt for 50 years, where it's just like, at year 13, how good is your sense of time with not a single soul to talk to? Like, you just have the memories of your past, and it all just kind of blends together in his mind. Also, shout-outs to Brooke for getting a bounty in the past. Had a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to just be really stuck with those memories of his crewmates, because when you're all alone on the exact same ship for 50 years, like, how many new memories can you even make? What's really cool here is Brooke has a tone dial.
Yeah.
The same kind that would be on Skypiea. So some merchant out there must have acquired one at some point.
Yeah.
He can also use his head as a storage device.
Yeah.
Because why not? Also, those 50 years really explain why Brooke is so fucking kooky. Because, the dude went a little bit insane in there, and I think that's a fun part of his character. But we get their final performance here to close out the flashback, which is such a good moment.
Yeah, it's so sad because, you know, before they start singing, they're all standing there with all their mortal wounds and, you know, they're all poisoned, they're all cut up, and whenever they're about to die, one of these pirates is like, I still have just one regret after all this. And another pirate answers he's like, yeah, it's Laboon. Because, I don't know, Laboon meant a lot to all of them.
It feels like they were going, like, even after Captain York died, it's like, well, we still got to get to Laboon. Like, it'd be really easy for you to lose hope, but by using Laboon as your driving force, you could maybe go on an extra island or two and just keep going.
Yeah.
Let the momentum carry you. But this idea that it's like, if my revive fruit is real and I do revive, let's do one last performance, and I promise you I'm going to get it to Brooke. Which is...
Laboon.
Yeah, sorry.
And having the panels alternate between Brooks's old crew, you know, belt out this song, and having the Straw Hats belt it out is so nice, because it's like both of them are his families, and it's like, yeah, the Straw Hat's your family now, man.
But then like all these panels with actual Binks Brew playing, and like you're saying, it's alternating. Like, these are beautiful, man. It's so well done.
And then the saddest part of all, this is where I started tearing up, is as they're finishing the song, the crewmates just start dropping.
Yeah, I particularly like this 4-panel here of like 3 of them dropping one after the other, and how the last one has his fist. Like, they're really like having the best last moment they could be. And this last one has like his fist in the air, like, yeah, we fucking did it. We sung it till the end, or close to it.
Yeah, and man, that was one of my favorite chapters in One Piece.
Yeah, and the counting down to Solo is like, Oda, you're so brilliant. You're like you're the emotional mastermind. You were Luffy all along.
Yeah, and yo, I really loved this song in the anime. It sounded great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's probably one of the best things the anime has ever done, is give that song justice.
Yeah, it was great. There's an SBS of like how much in advance Oda made sure to like plan out that song and all that.
Yeah. So here's the thing about Thriller Bark. Thriller Bark is about grief and about how it can affect somebody and how it can warp your mindset as well. So the 2 foil characters in this arc are Brook and Gekkomoria.
Right.
Because they've both lost their entire crew and both had to deal with it. The difference being is that Brook took the time to kind of really come to terms with what happened to his crew. And like in essence, Brooks' dreams died when his crew died, because he couldn't steer the ship. He couldn't get like anywhere. Like, the only hope he had was that he could hold on to this shell as long as he could to get to Laboon and play that last song to him. Like, that's his only dream, but he really didn't have a way to like accomplish it.
Yeah.
So he had to accept the fact that like he might never get to do his dream. He had to like come to that acceptance. The Gekkomoria like kept on denying it, bargaining, was just angry about everything, and kind of like wallowed in himself in self-pity of like trying to resurrect this crew to like get his dream back, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's kind of great because Gekkomoria and Brooks are now both stopped in the exact same spot of the Grand Line, and now the Straw Hat Pirates are going to go farther beyond than either of them ever did in their prime.
So good.
Yeah. I'm really glad you brought all that up. I never thought of, I'd never had the thought of Brook and Moria's foils, but it is kind of perfect because Moria loses his whole crew, and to him, when that happens, he interprets it as, I guess that just shows that, you know, people and life and crewmates are worthless. So, you know, what's the point? Just have expendable crewmates because they're going to get destroyed anyway. But Brooke, when he lost his whole crew, you know, he can hold up that tone dial and say, no, like, this, my crewmates were everything, and I still have one more crewmate out there and I'm gonna go find him.
Yeah, and we're getting that flashback and that final page where it has Binks' Brew lyrics on it is perfect because Brooke, it's like you said before, like Brooke has realized that he has found his crew again, and kind of its own will. Like you could say that the Straw Hats, like as a whole for Brooke, is the will of their crew continuing forward and continue to adventure and come back around in circle and to go around the entire globe. So it's just kind of perfect in that like you can't, that grief isn't solved by trying to solve it. It's solved by just letting kind of time and accepting what's happening to you and just kind of like work through it rather than trying to replace it and rebuild, you know? So I think that's kind of like the small things, like that thing about Thriller Bark that kind of just goes over a lot of heads because it went over my head at first. And then I re-looked at Thriller Bark. I was rereading, I think, 4 Binks' Brew. I ended up reading the whole thing again. I was like, oh, there's a reason why Brooke shows up here, not only because he's a skeleton on the horror island, but because Gekkomoria and Brooke literally went through the same thing, essentially, but dealt with it differently.
And then there's the other foil of Luffy and Moria, which I talked about last time, but I think that foil is really setting up to whatever happens in the New World. I think we can analyze what happens there and then look back at how Moria related to Luffy. And at the end of the day, all of this just proves that Moria is the best pre-time skip villain. And everyone hates on him because they don't take the time to understand what Oda was doing with him and because he's ugly. So just goes to show you how shallow everyone is.
But the good ugly, not like just terrible ugly.
I mean, he do be ugly.
He do be ugly. I'm not doubting that. But I love his character design because of how
he's fantastic. He's such a good antagonist, and everyone who dislikes Thriller Bark, which is almost all of you fuckers, like, now you know. Now you know to look at this arc a little different.
Yeah, but we're about to enter the New World soon. So I just want to kind of encapsulate that. Thriller Bark, I feel like, is the starting seed for the New World. And everything that comes after. It was
mentioned many times, and I just want to keep Moria in our minds because I'm definitely going to bring him up again in the nearby futures at some point. But let's move on to the next chapter, shall we?
Chapter 49, 8th person.
Woo! And look, there he is.
There he is.
It's just a really sad sentiment at the beginning of this chapter where, you know, Brooke was alone at sea for 50 years after recording that tone dial, and he doesn't even know how many times he must have listened to it because, you know, what else do you do? And it's such a sweet memory. And it's such a cool image, like looking into the tone dial and seeing an image of his old crew, because it's like, with this song, they live on.
Man, Brooke saying, "I'm glad I lived," hits so hard because that really implies that at some point in those 50 years, he really questioned, is it worth being alive if all I can live for is knowing that I'm never going to get off this goddamn ship? And even if I do, I'm not going to have a fucking shadow, so I can't leave the vicinity. Like, that is so cruel. But he lived, and it was worth it.
Because around year 30, 40, 50, you probably got to be like, man,
I'd rather be dead.
Fuck this devil fruit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like how this is the reverse of Robin, where it's I want to live, and now it's I'm glad that I chose to live. You know.
Yeah.
But that's nonsense. But yeah, this is a fantastic moment.
On to what may be my favorite One Piece. Like, I think this panel captures how I feel about One Piece more than any given panel. Luffy on top of the piano, upside down, asking Brooke to join his crew. That just fucking hits, dude. Like, this is the picture perfect One Piece panel. It's a goofy ass skeleton man, lighthearted Luffy, right after you got hit with so much emotional like flashback, and then you get like the sealing of the bow, like the what to look for into the future, which is Brooke being a crew member. And I love how he's asking. That's so cute.
And it's so natural for Brooke and Luffy. You know, there's no thoughts about it. It's just instant because it's like, obviously Brooke's gonna join their crew after this. So Luffy's like, get in here.
And I love the framing of this too.
Yeah.
because this is the opposite of how it was at the start of this arc, where we're literally Brooke and Luffy are on the opposite sides, where Luffy's on the left and Brooke's on the right now, and Brooke is now asking him to join the crew rather than vice versa.
Yeah, because Luffy already asked Brooke to join the crew, but this is him just like, I'm following up on your job offer.
Yeah.
And one thing that just really hit me here is when Brooke does his 45 degrees gag, it's like, this is a joke he came up with 40 years ago that nobody was around to laugh at.
No one appreciated it.
And so now he gets to do it, and everybody fucking loves it, and
That's
he's
so
just got to feel
good.
so good about himself.
And now, since Joe brought up that 45 degrees is a pun on after death, it's like those 50 years, Brooke might as well have been still dead, but now he gets to start living again.
Yeah.
For real. Oh, that's so good.
And, man, we get to see Laboon again with his big straw hat Jolly Roger on his face.
Damn, look how far we've come.
I know.
Man, Laboon's gonna be fucking hyped when he sees that Brooke and Luffy are visiting him together. Like, I can't wait for that day to come.
It's also good that Brooke still has his bounty from when he was alive, because we can't have him being the only straw hat without a bounty.
I love this introduction of him. How he is like, they're like, Brooke has been really silly this entire time. It's been kind of comical, but like there is a part of him that is dead serious. He's like, my name is the Homing Swordsman Brooke. Yeah, and he just goes into his whole like resume, and I just think that's so cool. I don't know why.
This little tidbit it comes up again. I was the leader of a battle convoy in a certain kingdom. I'm seeing what you're doing, Oda. I've learned what you do, you motherfucker.
But yeah, it's just like this introduction here. Like Joe said, he's usually goofy, but you got to remember he was a fucking Grand Line pirate.
I forgot to mention, like, maybe the most impressive thing about Brooke having been a pirate, and the Rumbar pirates in general, right? They didn't get very far in the Grand Line, but one thing everyone doesn't really realize, these guys were pirates 50 years ago. The age of piracy only started 20 years ago. This means that these guys were pirates before the concept of piracy really ever even started, before Gold Roger created the age of piracy. Like, how...
So they were like
OGs.
They were real triple OGs.
How badass do you have to be to go sail as a free man before that idea is even planted into the mind of the world? That is so fucking cool.
They weren't doing this just because it was trendy. They weren't doing it for the One Piece. They're just like, we're just gonna be fucking pirates.
Yeah,
so good.
They wanted to go, have adventures, and bring smiles to every child with their songs. That was their whole deal. That's what he said.
Yeah, and that's just so good, man. They were just dreamers. Yeah. They were just free spirits.
So Brooke's bounty is 333 million berries.
No, it's...
Do you remember?
No, 33 million.
I was just
33 million.
I was sitting here like, I don't know if that's right.
He's the second strongest straw hat all of a sudden? No way.
Yeah. But anyways, it's 33 million. Do you remember what the total bounty of the Straw Hats was before he joined?
I thought it was like 600 million or something. I don't know.
It was 667 million and 50 berries.
Motherfucker did it again.
So now it's 700 million and 50 berries.
Man.
Nice.
Quite a total they've accrued here.
Yeah.
We get to the nice little memorial here.
I think it's so sweet that they made a memorial for the pirates.
The real sweet part is how Brooke and Zoro get to share this little moment of Zoro retiring his old sword.
Yeah.
We talked about how swords are like just an extension of Zoro's character, and like he's leaving behind a part of himself, and it's nice that they're the ones that are doing it. Because Zoro fought for Brooke's honor basically when he was fighting Ryuma. And Brooke is one of the Straw Hats who saw Zoro sacrifice. And this little exchange is like, this crew is a handful,
Yeah.
And it's...
And there are two swordsmen on the ship too, so there's kind of like a kinship bond there.
Yeah, what a nice little bonding moment for the two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really like that quiet moment. And then we get to some real big stuff where, Lola's like, hey, we're actually natives of the New World. And she gives Luffy a piece of this paper, is it a Vivre card?
Vivre card.
Vivre card.
And as soon as she handed him this piece of paper, I was like, time to find out what that thing Ace gave Luffy was.
Yep.
And, but yeah, basically it's like paper imbued with your life force, and they'll inevitably attract each other, like they'll point to each other. Which I thought was really, really cool. But because it has your life force in it, if you're in danger, that's kind of reflected in the paper. So this one that Ace gave Luffy, sizzling, it's like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Bradley.
Yo.
Everyone in One Piece, don't forget Lola. That's the only thing I ask of you.
I mean,
it's hard to forget Lola.
I've been kind of taking it for granted at this point that you're supposed to remember everybody. So
yeah. It's just like I said, Thriller Bark is like the biggest seed that's planted, I feel like, in all of One Piece preemptively. Like there's just so much here.
I mean, I was planning on remembering Lola, considering she gave them a Vivre card.
Yeah. This just makes me remember how much I hate that moment of Ace giving Luffy the Vivre card. He's like, "Oh, you'll figure it out. Just fucking tell him. Why wouldn't you?" I get Luffy wouldn't hear it. Just fucking tell Nami. That was so silly. But whatever.
Yeah.
We move in.
It's arriving again.
Yeah, and it's very nice to see our giant friends returning to Elbaf.
Yeah.
Because they were exploited. They were exploited for what, like 50 years?
Yeah, it was a long time, as I recall.
Yeah. Long enough for the fish to rot out.
Fuck, man. This last page of Thriller Bark is fire. It's like another one of the most memorable pages in One Piece with this whatever this giant shadow is that they sail by.
Yeah, it's very scary.
You got any theories?
There's no way to know if it's something, that's natively in the Florin Triangle, or if it's something that's trying to catch the Straw Hats.
Yeah.
No one even, there's no way to know if it's even a ship or if it's a monster or what, so...
Yeah.
Or it's Skypians, but...
Yeah,
it's probably the Pluton.
There he is.
So let's see, just to get out here, what do we got here?
Basically, Luffy reacting to the news.
Yeah, and, Luffy's he's Ace. So, he'll be good. And Luffy, I like seeing that Luffy recognizes the fact that we brought up before, where in the grand scheme of things, he and Ace are technically rivals, being on opposite crews, aiming for the same thing. So Luffy's like, you know what? I have faith he'll get out. And if he doesn't get out, that sucks. But, it's the Grand Line, baby. We're rivals.
Yeah.
Pretty badass.
And he knows his brother well enough. He's like, if I went and helped him, he'd probably get mad.
And they're reaching the red line here. So they go through this intense gauntlet of weather, which is really fun. Joe pointed out a fun little Easter egg about this page that just longtime readers. I'll put this page in the video because it's fun. But They made it here without losing anyone. They're reminiscing on the fact Laboon is right across that mountain. So there's just a lot of emotions here as they reach this giant wall. And this page where they hit this wall, even on my reread, I was like, holy shit, this is a powerful image. Because, you hear about One Piece, you're probably like, it's probably this long because they drag their feet. But no, it's just that there's that much story to tell. But look, we've hit the halfway point.
Yeah, this image is great because it's literally a wall. It's like the actual wall that separates the pirates that are pirates, and then the actual pirates that will go on to become legends.
Yeah,
compared to everyone else.
We got a brief glimpse at Marijoa where Kuma's reporting to Sengoku about his task,
right?
And it's interesting here because he's kind of getting berated by Sengoku about why the hell didn't you exterminate all of them? That was your task. And, you almost wonder if maybe Kuma knows something Sengoku doesn't, especially if he's the foremost investigator on what's going on with Luffy's family in general.
Yeah. Something like that.
And Garp sitting here about Luffy, he's like, don't worry too much about Luffy taking out Moria because Luffy doesn't exactly go around blabbing about his deeds. He just does them because they're what needs to be done.
Indeed.
So we don't get Kuma's explanation for what he did here, but maybe someday.
I like though that there's a small little character moment between Garp and Sengoku here that really emphasizes the fact that they are kind of like old friends that have worked with each other a long time. When Garp is trying to distract Sengoku, and he's just like, "Shut the fuck up!"
Eat some tea snacks.
Yeah.
I really like in this panel where they hit the red line how everyone reminisces where they came from. We get to learn that Frankie came here from the South Blue, and we also need to remember that Frankie was abandoned by pirates, so somewhere his parents were pirates, and then Robin came here from the West Blue, which I'm not sure. I think we did know that with the O'Hara flashback.
We did, yeah.
Yeah.
And I just like kind of Luffy repeating his mission statement now that they've reached the halfway point. He's going to be king of the pirates.
Hell yeah.
And then, everyone kind of ends up doing their thing. And Zoro here, every time Zoro gets bested by an opponent, he kind of doubles down on this I'm not strong enough thing. And, he trains double time. And it's sad because, you want him to be confident in his abilities, and he is, but at the same time, it's kind of true. It's like you're going to need to be stronger. And it's like, I think you're cool, Zoro.
Yeah, I like Zoro. We talked a little bit on the Discord about like how goofy it is that the three of the 4 Devil Fruit users are in a submarine.
Yeah. And one of them is even like fucking in a little life preserver swimming around the pool.
Yeah, they're just trying to enjoy their time with the water.
Yeah.
They experiment with the submarine, and they end up punching a Neptunian in the gut, and it spits out Cammy the mermaid. And I saw it on this page for like a minute or two, and I was like, wait a minute. Willer, is that the mermaid from the cover story? And he's like, man, I didn't think you'd remember that. And I was like, yeah, me neither.
Yeah. Bradley forgets some big things, but he does have like this really good memory for these details. But yeah, that's totally her, and that's the starfish from there too.
I was like, God, she looks so familiar, and then I was like, wait a minute.
Which means that we're getting that back into the story. But I think, is that the end of the volume?
No, there's still a lot. This volume is long.
Holy shit. Okay.
That's a long volume.
Oh, these are all the notes I took. Okay, nothing's important from this point on. Cool.
Yeah, this is kind of the preliminary to the upcoming arc. They're like,
if I'm being honest with you, Bradley, this little small mini arc that happens here with Duval and the Flying Fish Riders, it might actually be my least favorite part of all One Piece.
Yeah, definitely.
Man.
I don't know what.
Well,
I don't know what. Go ahead.
Maybe. Definitely so far.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what is about it. I just don't like. I tried reading this again. I just really could not enjoy myself reading this for some reason. I remember when I was reading it the first time, like I was just like, I don't necessarily like what's going on here. I can't pinpoint why I don't like it. It just feels.
I know why I don't like it once we get into Sambaudi, but it does have 2 top tier gags, I think, in one chapter, which is.
No, I agree.
It is hilarious.
Brooke asking Cammy for money is fucking absurd.
That was one of the funniest things I've seen in One Piece.
First of all, why? Second of all, why her? Like, there's just too many goddamn questions. And he's like, I could open my skull. Just shut the fuck up, Brooke. But then I think later on, we also get Zoro erasing the memory of Kokoro from his mind, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and this chapter is just really interesting because it's like, hey, look, it's the mermaid from the Hachi cover story, and it's like, oh shit, she's calling Hachi on the phone.
And they're like,
this is going to be really interesting for Nami.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting thing that gets pointed out here is that mermaids can talk to fish.
Yeah, which is cute.
Oh yeah. And I will say, dude, it was such a cool way to end off this volume by showing a glimpse of Duval, because his armor and helmet looks so badass, and then it's like I've been searching for him all this time, the man who destroyed my life. And I was like,
yeah, you assumed this was Luffy at first.
Like my first thought was, what's his beef with Luffy? And then I was like, it's not gonna be Luffy. It's gonna be some shit like Usopp bumped him in the hallway a couple years ago or some shit.
Oh, it's significantly better.
And it ends up being better than either of those.
Willer was during this time, and I was like his story behind all of that while they were reading it. Because they're like, who the fuck is this? Like they thought it was Don Krieg.
Oh yeah. We all thought this was Gin or Don Krieg. Well,
yeah, whenever I first saw this, I thought when I was like theorizing on characters I would have met who it might be, I think Don Krieg came up, but I obviously had no true idea.
Those were a fun 3 weeks when when we were theorizing who the fuck that would be, and boy were we wrong.
But everybody buy One Punch Man.
Okay. So we don't get to the.
That's the end of the volume.
We don't get to the Blue No flashback or cover story. That's next time then. Catch us next time for volume 51. Definitely over halfway now. We moving.
Yeah. Bye everyone.
Bye. What are you still doing here? Leave. Podcast is done. Go.